You left a child that you hit in the head with a claw hammer, really to die.
And he did hit the 7-year-old child, but only after he killed his mother. And not to mention that he was out on parole for just 1 month before he went and committed this horrible crime. Now, before we watch this 2025 Louisiana parole hearing, we are going to do my favorite thing, and that is take a flashback to the past to his 2021 hearing. Now, Mr. No Way Roche, he leads the hearing, so I'll leave timestamps if you want to skip ahead. I love No Way Roche, but I know he does talk at a very slow cadence. Some might prefer to put it on 2x speed. Anyways, I highly suggest that you listen to how he handles this hearing. Listen to the words that he uses because there are going to be some discrepancies in hearing number 2. And with that, let's jump in.
All right, Mr. Broussard, your DOC number is 297872. You're here before the pardon board requesting clemency, specifically a commutation of your sentence, which is you have a 70-year sentence. You were sentenced in July of 1999 as part of a plea agreement out of Bienville Parish. Is that information correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
Aggravated battery and manslaughter. All right, would you answer Mr. Roche's questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Broussard. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Good. Madam Chairman, before us this afternoon, we have Danny Broussard, DOC number 297872. He is requesting this afternoon a commutation of sentence, a manslaughter conviction. He also has an aggravated battery conviction, which he has already completed that sentence. So he's only applying for a commutation of sentence on the manslaughter charge. He's currently 55 years of age, and at the time of the offense, he was 31. He's been incarcerated for the last 24 years. His original sentence for the manslaughter conviction was 40 years. After the original sentence was handed down, the DA's office in the Bienville Parish filed a habitual offender bill, and he was found guilty and resentenced to 70 years on the manslaughter charge. Mr. Broussard was released from the Natchitoches Parish Jail, where he was serving time on a drug conviction 1 month prior of him killing Ms. Felicia McPeters and injuring her 7-year-old son. He also, at the same time, was on probation for a simple battery conviction, a simple arson conviction in Columbia, South Carolina. He was sentenced to 8 years. The sentence was suspended, and he was placed on probation. He had his probation transferred to the state of Louisiana. Mr. Broussard has 11 adult arrests on his adult record, with 3 felony convictions, 4 violent arrests in 3 states: Louisiana, Florida, and South Carolina. He has an extensive criminal background and a terrible supervision history. He was released on good time, parole supervision in March of 1995. He was revoked in April of 1996 on a new felony conviction. He was released again in mid-1997, approximately 1 month before murdering Felicia McPeters and injuring her son. And don't forget, he was still on probation in South Carolina for a simple arson charge and conviction. Now, Mr. BROUSSARD, I've read your case 5, 6 times, and there was a missing puzzle. There was a missing piece to the puzzle. And I know you said that the young man you were babysitting, and he related to what your live-in girlfriend was doing that evening. She was going to take a basketball game with her father, and the young man related that she was going someplace else, which made you angry. And I didn't understand why you would take a hammer to a young lady who had enough kindness in her heart to give you a place to live after being incarcerated. So I hunted and I hunted, and I found some testimony. In 1 second, let me get to it. One second. This was testimony by a Doris Jones. You know who Doris Jones is, Mr. BROUSSARD?
Heard the name, I've never met her, but
Okay.
I've heard her name.
Okay. So Ms. Doris Jones is at the time of the offense, was a 48-year-old female who lived in Athens, Louisiana. And when questioned by the law enforcement in Bienville Parish, gave a voluntary statement. And I'm gonna paraphrase because I'm not gonna read it all. On Friday night, February 21st, 1997, and that is the date of the offense, Miss Felicia McPeters came to my residence about 9:30 and stayed for about an hour. She left 10:30, 11 o'clock. The police report was clocked in at 23:55, which is about 5 minutes of 12. And during the visit, she talked about Danny BROUSSARD, who she said she was having problems with. She told me that Danny had raped her, and her neck and arms was still sore from him holding her down and forcing himself upon me. She said that she had taken Danny to a hotel because she was through with him. She was afraid of Danny because he told her if he could not have her, nobody would. She said she was afraid to go home because she was afraid that Danny may be there. She was usually a very cheerful person, but that night she seemed sad and upset. And this was signed February 27th, 1997 by Doris Jones at 2:34 p.m. So basically, she had put you out the house and brought you to the hotel. And I don't know exactly what happened after that, but you had made a threat that if you couldn't have her, nobody would. And that's a piece of the puzzle that I was missing until I found it. So I'm going to continue with my report. 1 second. And that may be the motive behind the whole offense. Let's see. Opposition in this case comes from the 2nd JDC District Attorney's Office, the Bienville Parish Sheriff's Office is opposed, and the Chief of Police of Gippsland, Louisiana, is opposed to any clemency. The victim's family is adamantly opposed to clemency in this case. Mr. BROUSSARD has a low risk assessment score. He's housed in minimum custody. He's been a Class A trustee since 2013. He is now in his 2nd year at New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. He has a good institutional record, programs he's completed, 100 hours pre-release, Living in Balance, parts 1 and 2, anger management, Tia Walker training. He has had compassionate cultivation training, money management, personal development, HIV/AIDS, education, victim awareness and restitution, taking personal responsibility, and he's completed a chemical dependency treatment program in 2004. Besides these good time classes, he has completed many faith-based programs, and he has earned a GED in 2013. Would Mr. Harold Francis please mute your mic? Thank you, sir. Mr. BROUSSARD has 34 disciplinary write-ups and 24 years of incarceration. Last one being February 22nd, 2015. And number 24, and that was 6 years ago. Mr. BROUSSARD has numerous letters of support and a petition of support. He has 10 or 15 letters of support from family, friends, neighbors, and community leaders. He has a petition of support with approximately 50 signatures. Now, Mr. BROUSSARD, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to the evidence that was entered into at the time of the offense during the interview with the Iberville Parish Sheriff's Office and Ms. Doris Jones. Do you have any comments?
Yes, sir. At the time of me committing this offense, I was at a low point in my life. I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. And the night of the crime, me and Felicia had altercation, which led to me committing this crime. Although I was under the influence of alcohol and drugs, it doesn't justify my action for committing this senseless, horrible crime. There's no justification of my action. I take full responsibility, and I sit here before the court just asking for mercy and grace.
So you don't dispute the information I entered into the record?
Well, there is some discrepancy, but I take full responsibility for the night of the crime.
Okay, and you are ready to admit that you said in your testimony at the time of the offense and a statement just a year ago that it was a piece of wood. Do you dispute that the report said that you used a hammer to beat Ms. McPeters?
I used the handle of an axe it was the wood handle to buzz the glass of the car, and because I was under influence, I zoned out and hit her a couple of times in the head.
You don't dispute the injuries of the 7-year-old was exactly like the claw of the hammer where you hit him in the head when he tried to defend his mother?
No, I don't, sir. I take full responsibility for that night of my actions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Warden Lamartinier, do you have any comments, observations, or remarks at this time?
You pretty much covered everything he's done. We were just talking earlier, and he's actually had a few jobs that's around the farm that's takes some trust, and he's dealt with him. We haven't had any trouble with him. He's been a pretty good offender since we've had him.
Thank you, Warden Lamartinier. Madam Chairman, I do have a recommendation in this case, and I will share it with my fellow board members at the conclusion of this interview.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a few questions. Mr. BROUSSARD, let's talk a little bit about your drug addiction.
Yes, sir.
When did you start using drugs?
At a very young age, around 15, 16 years old.
What did you start using?
Marijuana.
And you progressed from there to what?
It progressed to cocaine and snorting pot of cocaine and eventually smoking it in a crack pipe.
How long had you been doing that before this particular crime?
Throughout all the way up to the crime. I've had some stints as the man. I had some stints with the law, which caused me to get incarcerated. But each time, I've never got treated for it. I've did a short period of time, so when I get out, I'll go right back to using the drugs.
Have you ever had any treatment on the outside?
Never.
What have you had on the inside? Tell me about the programs you've taken, and how can we be certain you'll be staying off of drugs if you are released anytime soon?
Since I've been incarcerated 20 years ago, I started my sobriety by first turning to God, embracing my faith. I became a born-again Christian. Then I took a substance abuse. I took 2 different courses of substance abuse. The first one was I took one, then I turned around and took another one. I took anger management that dealt with alcoholism and drugs also. Although it's an anger management curriculum, but it deals with alcohol and drugs. I've took various other self-help program here that also dealt with substance abuse, drugs. I'm I'm sure now that, you know, this crime, this prison, the programs that I took has changed me. I'm not that man that committed the crime.
Tell me what plan you have to stay off of drugs when you get out of prison.
One of the first thing I want to do, sir, when I get out is I want to get into a NA, AA organization, a meeting. I want to get a sponsor, someone that I can always talk to, that I can call and lead and guide me and help lead me. So I definitely want to get a sponsor, and I know today, I recognize that I'm always be a recovering alcoholic and a recovering drug addict. That's the information that I didn't have prior to this prison term that I have now, that'll help me throughout the rest of my life. I know that I will always be a recovering addict.
You've been in prison now for what, 23 years?
24, sir.
24 years? Had you been in prison for any length of time before going to prison this time?
No, sir.
Did you go to prison in South Carolina for the arson charge?
2 weeks.
What was your sentence there?
They just let me sign out of my own recounting.
Well, but you pled guilty because they have a probation hold on you. At least they had one back in 94. What did you plead guilty to?
I played in South Carolina. All it did is I didn't have a court procedure. They came to my cell and asked me, do I accept responsibility? I said, yes. So I signed it's called signing your own recondance.
That's a bond.
Right, and they let me out. And
well, they claim to have a probation hold on you, which meant you must have pled guilty to some charge or were found guilty of some charge in order for them to have a probation hold on you.
Well, I was never
You
aware.
don't know anything about that?
I wasn't aware of it because I've never had to see a probation officer or turn myself into no. Once I came back to home, I've never had to turn myself into no probation officer or nothing. It just allowed me to sign the paper saying that I accept guilt. I was able to leave. Lexington, South Carolina.
Mr. Marabella,
Yes.
according to the record, he received an 8-year sentence. It was suspended and he was put on probation.
So you've got an 8-year, you're backing up 8 years in South Carolina, assuming they still want you.
I was never aware of that because, as I said, I've never officially saw a probation officer behind his offense.
All right. I'm not sure how South Carolina works, but you wouldn't have been able to plead guilty in Louisiana in your jail cell. You would have had to go to court to plead guilty. You don't recall ever having done that?
In South Carolina?
Correct.
No, sir. I signed the only thing I was signed was a release saying that I admitted guilt and they allowed me to leave out. I didn't post bond or nothing in South Carolina.
Okay, that's all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Broussard.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Wise,
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Jones,
Mr. Broussard, how are you this afternoon? Mr. Broussard, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Doing good.
How long did you know the victim prior to this incident?
About 8 months.
About 8 months. And where did you meet her at?
And when I was serving time at Natchitoches Detention Center, she was coming to see me.
How did you meet her?
I met her through another acquaintance, a friend that I met. His girlfriend and her was friends, and she came over. He introduced me to her over the phone, and we became friends and developed a relationship.
Okay. So what was this? I know, so you contribute the drugs and alcohol to what happened that night? Is that?
I was under the influence. I just, there's no justification. There's no excuse for my actions, but I was under the influence the night of the crime.
How old were you at the time of this offense?
31.
31. Okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. So, are you considered a full-time student now?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
You're in the Bible college?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How's your, did you just recently have some knee surgery?
Yes, I had a knee replacement in January.
Are you able, so you're getting around okay now?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Good.
I'm still rehabbing, but I'm doing, yes, I'm back. I'm doing great. I'm
Good.
walking.
Glad to hear that. And so you're considered a Class A trustee, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
have been for a number of years. Good.
Yes.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Let's hear from the folks who.
Madam Chairman, before we hear from, I'd like to enter some information into the record, please.
All right.
Mrs. Broussard, I am quoting directly from your rap sheet. Arrest date, March 26, 1991. Simple arson. Disposition, April 18th, 1991. He pled guilty and was sentenced to 8 years at hard labor, suspended, placed on 5 years supervised probation. Probation case was transferred to ICOT to Louisiana. A warrant was issued July 13th, 1994, and is still active. We have an email dated, I think, February 28th, 2021, only 2 months ago, verifying that you would definitely be extradited back to South Carolina to face probation violations. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. So, Mr. Broussard, you got a little work to do there. Let's hear from Mr. Harold Francis, brother-in-law.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, members of the board, for allowing me to speak. My name is Harold Francis, and I'm Danny Broussard's brother-in-law. I'll be speaking on the behalf of the Broussard family. I've been knowing Danny for over 30 years. Danny is a man that loves his family. He's very outspoken, very caring, and funny. He has a passion for music. He also became a DJ. He loved helping out, like keeping the yard maintained, cars clean. After visiting Danny here in Angola for over 23 years, I noticed a lot of changes in him, like his love for God, putting God first in his life, then getting his education together. He also mastered the craft of making plaques. Prison has taught him how to be creative, use his mind to create art. If Dan is allowed to be introduced back into this society, he would have a place to stay with my wife and I. His family is ready to take care, his family and I are ready to take care of him in any way possible, to be a productive citizen and law-abiding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you sharing that with us. Mr. Morris. Good to see you.
Good evening. Good evening. First and foremost, I want to thank the board for giving me this opportunity to speak on Danny's behalf. My name is Keith Morris. I served 27 years in Angola, and I am a recent recipient, a humble recipient of this clemency process and proof that this process does work.
All right, Keith, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the board for giving me this opportunity. 27 years of prison and not knowing if I would ever be here to redeem myself, living in condemnation for 20 years. You know, it's a humbling experience to be here, and I understand that this has nothing to do with me being entitled to anything. It's all about mercy and grace. So I want to thank the board for this opportunity, and if given the opportunity. And my wife said that they won't let me fail. Well, the truth of the matter is I won't let myself fail. I'm thankful for their support, but I need to do this for me. And all the things that I've done up to this point, I intend, to take them in society with me. I've been very effective dealing with programming here in Angola, and I want to take that experience in society with me. And I'm thankful to Andrew for giving me the opportunity to mentor me in that process. But I really think I'm ready. I'm humbled to have this opportunity. I'm thankful to be here. And I promise you that if this board gives me a favorable recommendation and grants me my release, that I won't let you down. Currently, I'm employed by the Restorative Justice Center in New York. I'm the Executive Vice President of Operations for the Beloved Community, a nonprofit that my wife and I started here, and a student at Vermont Law School studying to get my master's degree in restorative justice. And I understand that this hearing isn't about me, but I always did say that if ever given the opportunity to speak into this process, that I wanted to be a good steward of my voice and make sure it was being directed at the person who I deem worthy. I've known Danny for about 20 years, and Dan is probably one of the most humble, compassionate people that I do know. It's obvious that he does have a lengthy criminal record, but I can say that he's not that person today as he was 20-something years ago. I think he's done a great job of reconciling with his past. One of the things that I probably admired the most about Danny over the 20 years, because one of the things that people probably, a misconception is that in prison that everyone knows what everyone is there for. And for the most part, for a plethora of different reasons, shame, guilt, condemnation, guys don't typically speak into their situation with other people. But what impressed me so much about Danny, that Danny was always transparent and forthcoming about his situation, and he wasn't scared, to ask for help. He always just exemplified what remorse was, and he and I would walk the yard, every morning and just kind of talk about, what transpired, what things he could have done better, plans that he has for the future. And, in my personal opinion, quintessentially, I think that Danny represents everything what rehabilitation and redemption should look like. Again, if we measure him based on his criminal record, then we would say no. But the Danny that I know is a man of integrity, a man of compassion, and it's undoubtedly, I know that he will be a positive, make positive contribution to his community. So with me being a former prisoner, obviously I understand the complexity of the reintegration process. And if this board deems Danny worthy, my wife and I have committed to provide Danny with the tools and the resource to assure that he has a positive transition. So, in closing, I just want to, give my earnest prayer that the board would really consider Danny worthy of a second chance. And I promise you that if given that opportunity, Danny won't let you down. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Miss Hagan, would you like for Danny to make his statement yet first?
Sure, I'll speak at the end, Ms. Renata.
All right. Danny, is there something you'd like to say to us?
Yes, I'd just like to thank you all for giving me an opportunity for this to present myself and my situation before you all. I thank the administration, Warden Martineau, and everyone else for giving me the chance to be here. And I don't think I ask is for a second chance to prove that I'm not that person I was before. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I know that in order for me to be successful, I must always recognize who I am, and that is a recovering alcoholic, a recovering drug addict, because that played a major part in the decision I made prior to committing this crime and the night I committed this crime. So I'm profoundly sorry. if I could talk to the victims, I would tell them that I know, that's not they go by, that I don't pray for them, and that I don't think about them because I know I caused them a lot of pain, and I'm deeply remorseful, deeply sorry, and I just thank you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hagan?
Thank
Hogan?
you. Just very briefly, I got to know Mr. Broussard myself personally, when I first started going to Angola about 5 years ago. He was always at the front gate washing cars. He was also working at the A building. So he was one of the trustees that you see walking around greeting people. He would get me water when I was hot. I mean, just a very caring person. This was long before this hearing was a reality. Mr. Broussard pled guilty to an effective life sentence. He accepted responsibility. He pled guilty to his crime and was sentenced to 70 years. It's no question that in the past his life was completely off the rails. It's also undisputed that while he does have a criminal record, he only spent minimal amounts of time in custody and was never given the adequate help that he needed to address his addiction issues. He has now addressed those issues head on. He's taken 2 different substance abuse courses. He's maintained his sobriety. In 24 years of incarceration, while he has had some write-ups, he's never once landed in the cell blocks. He's been a Class A trustee, uninterrupted since 2013. And as noted in Mr. Roche's extensive presentation, he has held multiple jobs that require high levels of trust. There is a huge network of people that are willing to support him and provide for him and provide the reentry services for him if he were to return to society. And based on the institutional record and the overwhelming support that he has from his family and from people like Mr. Morse, who know him in a more intimate way than anybody present really is able to. Mr. Morse knows him, the Danny Broussard that lives day to day. And how he conducts himself when he's not in a class or when he's not earning certificates. And the fact that he's here speaking on his behalf, I think also speaks volumes. So we would ask this board to consider granting Mr. Broussard's application for commutation and to just commute his sentence to include immediate parole eligibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hogan. All right, Mr. Roche, are you prepared to offer your vote?
Madam Chairman, I am.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, it is my recommendation in this case to deny Mr. Broussard's request. I base that recommendation on express opposition from the victim's family, who is adamantly opposed to any clemency. Strong law enforcement opposition from the DA's office, a terrible supervision history. He was granted good time parole in 1995, committed another felony offense, was released in mid-97 and committed this crime. He has an active retainer in the state of South Carolina, which has been verified and as of February of this year. So I think if anything that you need to start working on that retainer and get that cleared, because a retainer from 1994, it can be negotiated and taken care of. You have a prior criminal history with 3 felony offenses and multiple arrests for violent crimes. And I think you have some more work to do. That is my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Broussard, you have done some positive things while you've been in prison, and I would encourage you to continue to do those things. I am concerned about your history. I'm concerned about this detainer that you have, this warrant, this probation warrant you have in South Carolina. You don't even remember pleading guilty, but obviously you did. You got an 8-year sentence there. And you've only served 23 years on while it's not a life sentence, it's a 70-year sentence for killing someone. I'm just not willing at this time to based upon all of those things, to grant any relief. I would encourage you to continue to work hard. My vote today would be to deny for all of the same reasons as outlined by Mr. Roche, as well as the ones that I've stated.
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. Mr. Wise?
At this time, I'm gonna vote to grant the commute your sentence till you've until you've received 25 years incarceration. Thank you.
So can you, Mr. Wise, can you clarify that for me? You're voting to commute his
What I was
sentence?
gonna do is commute his sentence till after he served 25 years.
To make him parole eligible after 25?
Parole eligible after 25
Okay.
years.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones?
EE.
Got
Yes,
it.
Madam Chairman, my vote today would be to deny also for the same reasons Mr. Roche and Mr. Marabella has stated.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Mr. Broussard, my vote would be to commute your sentence to make you parole eligible after serving 25. However, because you have 3 votes to deny your application, it requires 4 votes, 4 like votes. So you've only got 2 favorable votes today. The result of today's proceedings is that your application for clemency has been denied. Now, look, your master prison record does not show that detainer. So if you could start working on that, continue with your Bible college, reapply when you're eligible to do so. Good luck to you, Danny.
Thank you, Ms. Renas. Thanks.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Hogan.
Now, they denied, but before we watch this 2025 parole hearing, I have a surprise for you, and that is we are going to watch his 12/15/2021 parole hearing, and it is a Miss Bonnie Jackson classic. Now, if you're confused, so was I. I almost missed the hearing completely because when I pulled it up in the Sir Richard spreadsheet, I just thought, of course, there's only one hearing on April 19th, 2021. But this is what happened. You see, this was a pardon commutation hearing that he had April 19th, 2021. And then they passed Act 122, which made him parole eligible, which is why he then had a hearing just 8 months later. And that's the hearing we're going to see now before we jump to 2025. And again, like I said, wait for the Honorable Judge Bonnie Jackson to jump in. It is why we love her so much. And she says things that just totally might alter everything that you're thinking. So with that, let's jump in.
Okay, this is a case for Danny Broussard, DOC 297872, date of birth, classified as a 3rd felony offender. Offenses: aggravated battery, habitual offender, manslaughter. Sentencing date, July 2nd, 1999. Sentenced to a total of 70 years. Parole date, August 1st, 2021. Good time, July 11th, 2066. And full term, July 6, 2067. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Renazzo.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Broussard.
How you doing, Ms. Renassa?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. So listen, your case has been assigned to me. So I'm going to start asking you some questions. We'll have a conversation. All right.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
just relax. And it's not going to be easy questions, but just relax.
Yes, ma'am.
So how old are you, Mr. Broussard?
I'm 56.
And how long have you been in jail?
I'm approaching 25 years.
Okay, of your 70-year sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and you pled guilty to this offense. Was your sentence part of a plea agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you are classified as a third felony offender. So as I review your criminal history, it looks like you've got others, drug charges, robbery, theft, simple arson, and your crimes or convictions in Florida, Louisiana, Texas, and South Carolina. Would you agree with that?
Yes, that's
Okay.
simple larceny. In
Simple
South
arson. I do. Yeah, I do see that. That's in Kentucky, right?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. I made a mistake. And so for any of those previous felony convictions, did you do any jail time?
I did on the simple robbery. I didn't do none on the larceny in the out of state ones. All of them, I got. They all let me sign myself out.
So this is the longest you've ever been in jail, obviously.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and the record does show that there is a still an active warrant out of South Carolina. You are aware of that, right?
Yeah, but I've got that straight. My family called South Carolina.
Well, that's up to you to deal with. I just wanted to be sure you were aware of it. Okay.
Okay.
So let's talk for a moment about what happened. You're here for or doing time for aggravated battery and manslaughter. And so tell me what happened the day this crime occurred.
Okay. Well, first, Ms. Renasa, I would like to say that there's nothing I can say that would justify my selfish actions. I take ownership and responsibility for my actions, and I would like to first express my most sincere apology to the family for all the pain I've caused. But on the day of the crime, me and Felicia had a heated argument over an affair, and the pain and the anger, the jealousy, combined with me under the influence of drugs and alcohol, it blinded me, and which caused me to commit the crime.
And so there were two victims. And that
Yes,
was
ma'am.
Miss Felicia and her son.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's why you committed the crime while you were on probation. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you mentioned that you were under the influence of alcohol and drugs. What were those substances? Had you been drinking, and what kind of drugs?
Well, I was drinking beer combined with alcohol, with whiskey, and I was on crack cocaine.
When did you first started using those?
Around 1989. 90,
How old were you?
21.
So that's the first time you started using drugs or alcohol? 21?
I first started smoking marijuana at a younger age, and it progressed it by me smoking marijuana, drinking alcohol. It progressed it to hard drugs, cocaine.
Yeah. How old were you when you started smoking the marijuana? You remember?
17.
17.
I was very young.
Did you did you finish high school?
Here in Angola, I did.
You got your GED. Okay, good. All right. So tell me, you've been in jail almost 25 years. Tell me what you have done to work on Danny Broussard.
Well, first thing I did, Ms. Renasa, when I entered this place, because I was broke, I was, my heart was full of anger, contempt, resentment. I seek church and I allowed Jesus in my heart, which the healing process began, which led to me taking advantage of all opportunities, all the programs, substance abuse, the anger management, the thinking for a change. I pursued my education. I got my GED. I enrolled in Bible college, which I am now. I'm a Class A trustee. But primarily, I took advantage of all the programs, or the self-help programs.
So I know you're in Bible college now. Are you a sophomore?
Yes, ma'am.
You're a full-time student?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you used to work at the front gate, right?
Yeah, I worked at the front gate.
The car wash.
Yeah, I first, in 2012, in 13, when I became a trustee, I started off washing cars, the cars that you use for trips, the trip cars. Then I got promoted to the front gate. The front gate car wash. Warden Bernard, who was the warden then, promoted me to the front gate as the orderly, the front gate orderly, which I stayed for about a year. And then I decided to enter school. I wanted to pursue my education again, so I decided to leave the front gate and go into the Bible college.
So you've been in the Bible college how long?
2 years.
2 years.
Since 2019, right prior to the pandemic, 2019. My first semester was the fall of 2019.
Good for you. So what is it, you said you've been in jail 25 years, so you immediately went to work? Because I asked you that question because as I'm looking at the information I have, I showed the Living in Balance was 2016, where you completed phase 1 and 2. You've recently this year, 2021, completed the Thinking for Change. I do see some a record of some faith-based education on your annual progress report, but it's dated 2019. So when did you really start to begin
process
work?
Okay, when I first entered the prison, of course, I went to the field. Then I wound up working in the kitchen, which I stayed a long time as a kitchen worker here. I started my first program was substance abuse, 2002, 2003. I went through the course, finished the course of substance abuse. Then I think the next one was anger management, 2 years later. Then was my the time I was taking these programs, I was working in the kitchen. 2012, I think when I got promoted to a trustee, I started washing cars, which, you know, that took a little space between me entering my next program, which was anger management in 2015. I was trustee and I was washing cars. And in 2017, I was promoted to the front gate car wash. I don't think I took any programs then. 2017, I refreshed. I took substance abuse again, because that program, that was the one that impacted my life the most. Because as I said, I'm a recovering drug addict. So I refreshed substance abuse. I took it again in 2017, which was the second time.
So let me ask you this. I didn't hear you say anything about victim awareness. Have you had any victim awareness classes, or have they covered that yet in the Bible college?
Yeah, I covered it in the Bible college. Plus, we have a course of victim awareness in the Bible college. It's in conducive with Christian counseling, and it covers that. And I applied for the program here, but because of, at the time, the law for juveniles had just passed, so the backlog list was so long. And the facilitator said, well, because you're in Bible college and you was covered some of the curricula that victim awareness offers, I was getting in the Bible college.
So you've taken that, you've received that instruction already?
Yes,
and so tell me what did you learn from that, and have you given any reflection or thought to the impact of your crime on the victim's family and the victim?
Yes, I did. It's not a day that goes by. What I've learned is that, you know what I'm saying, to be responsible, I've learned how to cultivate my decision making, to think before I act. I've learned how to express compassion, towards myself and the victims. How to it taught me how to mostly to think before I act. How to always create a healthy environment around myself. To establish a support team, people I can talk to. Because prior to this, before I pick up this charge, I used to always believe I can make a decision on my own. I didn't need no one to help me make a decision. I've learned through victim awareness that everybody needs someone. everybody needs someone to talk to, a sponsor. So that was very valuable in my big.
Well, what I'm getting at is, have you given any consideration to what pain you may have caused the victim's family by
Yes, ma'am.
doing
Yes,
what you did?
Yes,
Haven't
I
heard you
did.
say that.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I've learned a lot about the pain I've caused the family, and I've you know, the forgiveness that I seek every day for the pain I've caused the family. You know, through my faith, through you know, leaning on my faith towards forgiveness. That, you know, there's like I said, Ms. Renata, there's no words that can express, you know what I'm saying, the pain I've caused the family. The only thing I can do is use the pain to better myself, just continue on the course of bettering myself.
So let me ask you, I'd like for you to state on the record for us, if you were successful in an early release, where would you go? How would you support yourself? Where would you live?
Okay, Mr. Renata, my family, my sister, Harold, who's going to speak for me, my brother-in-law, Harold, and my sister, I'm going to go live with them back home in BROUSSARD. We have a very stable home. Upon my arrival, I have a job waiting on me at the city of for the city of BROUSSARD, where I'm from, working in the maintenance. But my family, I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. All of them are living successful lives, and all of them want to invest in my transition. You know, help me in every possible way, financially, emotionally. So I plan on living with them. Also, part of my transition plan, Ms. Renata, is I want to seek out the NA and AA organization in Lafayette. I want to, you know, I've learned that through substance abuse, that I need to build healthy relationships. And through AA and NA, I know that I can, you know, I can start going to the meetings, establish relationships, and use these relationships as sponsors to always protect my sobriety. I also want to, you know, find a nice church home, and I want to join and hopefully get into the ministry. I've learned, you know, how to minister in the Bible college, how to counsel. So so by me getting into a church, becoming a member, hopefully getting into ministry, it'll give me opportunity to tell my story and hopefully prevent someone else from making the same mistake I've made.
Okay, Mr. Broussard, I'm going to ask Warden Falgout, is there any input he can offer?
Yes, ma'am. He has in fact been a Class A trustee since 13-14. He worked out incinerator for us, and then he has been at front gate, and then with his NOBTS things, he's had a couple of little hospitalizations. His programming, he's done well here in this last 8 to 10 years with us. So no problems.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jackson has a question. Mr. Broussard, answer her question.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Broussard. My name is Bonnie Jackson.
How you doing, Ms. Jackson?
I've reviewed your file, and I will tell you that this is the most heartbreaking thing that I have read since being on the parole board.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll tell you what's bothering me right now. I have heard a lot of me and I and all about you, and you voice remorse, but you don't show it. When you said, when Miss Renata asked you about the pain you inflicted on this family, you don't have any words to express it, but you've got a lot of words to talk about yourself. And then you say, I'm going to use this pain to better myself. So the pain that you've inflicted on others, you're turning it around and making it about you. Explain to me how you killed Miss Felicia.
Ms. Jackson,
Explain
killed
to
her.
me how you killed her.
I killed her out of jealousy.
Now, how, not why, how?
How I killed her by hitting her in the head with a weapon.
A hammer.
Yes, ma'am.
You hit her in the head with a hammer multiple times.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a pool of blood on the concrete about a foot wide when the police arrived at the location.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a 7-year-old little boy trying to protect his mom, and you hit him in the head with a hammer. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see any shame, any remorse, or any horror coming from you. And then he had to watch you put his mama in the trunk of a car, and he never saw her again alive. And yet you sit here and you make everything about you.
But it's not about me, Miss Jackson.
I understand that it's not about you, but I don't think you do. What do you think it did to that baby?
I know it dramatized.
What do you think it did to that baby to see his mom beaten to death with a hammer and be attacked himself with a hammer?
Caused him great pain. It traumatized him. That's not a day go by. I don't think about it.
It's not about you. It's not what you think about. It's how do you think that little boy's life?
It destroyed it. I know it did. And Miss Jackson, I know it's not about me. And I might be having a hard time conveying, what I'm feeling. But I know I destroyed little Gregory's life.
How long had you known Felicia?
About 2 years. About 2 years.
And how long had you been living with her?
About a month. About a month.
And you had just gotten out of prison from serving time, correct? When you moved in with her.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Was there ever a time after you committed this crime that you contacted Felicia's mother?
In the parish? Yes, I did.
And what was the nature of that contact?
Because I was, at the time when I contacted,
What did you tell her?
I told her how much I was sorry for the pain I've caused her. And I was just asking her for forgiveness.
So you didn't call her before your trial and tell her about the details of her daughter's murder, that when you opened the trunk, she was still alive, and you finished her off. You never did that.
No, I never did that, Ms. Jackson. No, I had.
Where do you think that would come from? Why do you think we have that information in our record?
I don't know. This is the first time I'm hearing of this information. No, I did call her mom from the parish.
Why?
Because I was remorseful. I was hurt. I want to express to her how much I was.
Do you really think she wanted to hear from you?
Now, the man I am today, no. But at the time, I was destroyed.
Trying to manipulate her.
No, because I wasn't trying to get out of what I've done. I admitted from day one to the officers. I wasn't trying to. It wasn't about me trying to get out of this crime. So there was no need for me to manipulate her.
Again, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not seeing genuine remorse. I'm not. I'm seeing someone who has learned the right things to say.
No.
And I'm just telling you, that's how you come across to me. And I can't read your mind. I can't read your heart. I can only go by what's in front of me. And what I see is the focus being on you and all the good, and you've done some good things. I'm not discounting the good things that you have done. You have done some good things. But I question whether or not you really have come to grips with the horror of this crime and how you destroyed that little boy's life. Not to mention his mom, but that little boy who had to see his mom viciously beating, and bless his little brave heart, he stepped in to try and save her, and you hit him in the head with a hammer. What was it in you? And I don't want to hear about drugs, because people are on drugs all the time.
Exactly.
But what was it in you that would allow you to do something so vicious and so evil?
Miss Jackson, as I said, I blacked out. I was blinded with the pain and the anger. I know there's nothing I can say to justify my actions, and as for being remorseful and ashamed, I've been feeling that way for the last 25 years. Yes, I know right now my demeanor, it may not be showing that, my words may not be reflecting that. But Ms. Jackson, that's not a day I don't go by, I don't think about the crime and how awful that was and the pain I inflicted on Gregory and the whole Hampton family. It's not a day that don't go by. I can't convey what, all I know is I just blacked out. That wasn't the man that's before you today. I wasn't that who I am today. Back then I guess I was broke and I was, and I've been for the last 25 years. I still can't understand what caused me to commit such an awful crime. I agree 100% with your assessment, Ms. Jackson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Broussard. But again, I feel like I need to be honest with you, and I have very strong feelings about what happened in this case. And sometimes, no amount of good work, can adequately compensate for certain things. And I just want you to understand that.
I understand that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like if staff would introduce those folks who have indicated they'd like to speak today.
First, we will hear from Mr. Harold Francis, who's a family member.
Good afternoon.
Oh,
You want me to speak now?
yes.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. Good afternoon. Dan is not only my brother-in-law, he's one of my closest friends I have. I met him long before I married his sister. He was a DJ playing music in different nightclubs, house parties, radio stations in the BROUSSARD Lafayette area. He was very, very popular back then. Excuse me. When I first got to know him, I realized that he was a very respectable person, caring, and a giving person. He would go out of his way to help people. I also witnessed firsthand how Danny allowed his music career and hanging on the streets to cause him to turn to drugs and alcohol. The drugs and alcohol took full control of his life, which in turn caused him to make a lot of bad choices, poor decisions. Now, although me and the rest of the Broussard family know that there's no justification for him committing such a horrible crime he's been in prison for, we also know that Danny we know would have not committed any crime sober. Over the last 25 years, my wife and I has been there for him every step of the way, through visits, phone calls, letters. We've had a front seat to seeing Danny transition from being sober, educated, and a God-fearing man who's standing there before you today. On behalf of the BROUSSARD family, I humbly ask the parole board to please show Danny mercy by granting parole and a real second chance at life. My wife and I have a home ready for him. I also have a job waiting on him when he come out. And on behalf of the BROUSSARD family and myself, we always did show condolences for the victim's family. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Mr. Julius Fugez, nephew.
Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Julius Fugez. I'm Danny's nephew. So my uncle's been away for a very long time, but he's pretty much always found a way to still have an impact and influences in a positive way, whether it be from just talking to us, phone call, visits, just trying to encourage us to always do the right thing. I always look forward to talking to him because, you know, at times, I guess I could just say he was someone that he was away, but I know he wouldn't judge me, things I was going through, but he always, you know, try to shine a positive light on things I was going through, encourage me, ask me, you know, if I'm being a good person, how I'm affecting those around me, not just myself, having a good impact on people. And you know, and I try to do that with everything I do. Try to understand that one of the biggest things he's taught me is about accountability as well, to be accountable for my actions, to realize that, you know, things I do don't necessarily just affect me, but definitely, you know, always affect the people around us as well. You know, don't be selfish, be selfless. Put others first. Sure my faith is in line. Just to, you know, just try to be a good person, be a good man. Be a good man to one day be a good husband, which I feel I am now. I try to have an effect in my community. You know, me and my wife don't have any kids, but we try to impact the people around us. So we have a nonprofit organizations where we reach kids in the area, you know, show them opportunity and let them understand that the world is bigger than the neighborhood they live in. There's a lot of things that try to trap them in the neighborhood, but, you know, and those are things he's motivated me to do to help others. So that's my give back to the community, along with my faith and just trying to be a good person. You know, we all make mistakes. He's made a lot of mistakes, some that he can never take back. You know, and it's unfortunate that it didn't affect just him, affect, you know, someone else's family, my family, you know, affect a lot of people. It still affects a lot of people. It'll always affect a lot of people. But, you know, one thing he taught me is to keep faith and don't let that deter me from things like that, deter me from trying and try to put good foot forward. Try to have a good effect on people. I think my family's faith, along with mine, I think we'd have a sound foundation for them to, you know, come home to and have a positive effect on our neighborhood and other people, other youth. So I come before you, just asking to please grant his parole, you know, after 25 years. You know, I think he's learned his lesson and he has a lot to give back, not just to me, and to give back to others in the community and help programs and just help youths. You know, don't take the path he's taken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from the opposition side. Mr. Felix Hampton, the victim's brother.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
I'm present here with my other brother, Freddie Hampton. He wasn't here early enough to get registered this morning, but I'm speaking for the Hampton family as well. And I've sit here patiently and listened to Danny BROUSSARD and his family members. make statements in his behalf. And I want the board to understand, I sent a letter in to you guys. I think I heard Ms. Jackson mention it. I mentioned some of the details that was in it. Danny BROUSSARD, I sit here and look at him even in his old age. But when I see him, I see a man that's pure evil, as far as I'm concerned. People for years have said I'm sorry for things that they have done that cause a lot of pain and a lot of hurt to other individuals. And because you say, I'm sorry, me and my wife, we have foster kids here. Matter of fact, we have 4 here now, and we adopted 2 little girls several years ago. And we have 2 little boys here, 1 white, 1 black. The little black boy hit the little white boy in the face, and he told him he was sorry. But as I said, I explained to him, because you say you're sorry does not take the pain or the sting away from that lick that you hit him with. I said, so there's a discipline that comes along with that. And Danny thinks because he's did 25 years, that's enough. My sister can never walk out that grave. Never. And he literally beat my sister so bad that my mother couldn't go identify the body. I had to go. I'm the oldest. And when I went to identify her body, I seen all the chunks of meat all up and down her arm where he hit her with that claw hammer, just tearing chunks out. You don't forget that. And the night that this happened, I could not go and look for my sister. I had to rush on to Sweetport because the ambulance was taking my 7-year-old nephew, rushing him there. We didn't know if he was going to pull through or not. So because this man say, well, I've been in here for 25 years, I go to church, well, you don't have anything else to do in there but try to do something with your time. And you joining church in there or going to the religious college and stuff doesn't say anything to me and my family. Because all that means is, okay, you know what? I know one day I'm gonna come up for parole, so I'm gonna try to manipulate this situation the best that I can and look good for the parole board. But if you wanna look at the Bible, and since he said he has 2 years into it, tell him to go and read the story of David, especially in the later years when he had Bathsheba's husband put to death, and see what when God sent Nathan to him and explained to David what he had done. And God told him, say, yeah, I'll justly forgive you, but your household will never be the same. His son tried to kill him. His son tried to rape his own sister. There were so many things that happened. So because you say you sorry, does not take away the pain that you have caused my family. And my nephew, he's a full-grown man, but he still suffers immensely from this. He has had a hard life from this. He missed his mother every day. And so do me and my brother. Me and my brother that's sitting beside me, I don't know if you guys can see him, but we are the last 2 siblings left. The last 2 out of our family. Both my parents are gone. We just had a baby brother that died last October. We are the last 2. And me and my brother have always said, if whoever is living, and if this comes up, we will fight it tooth and nail. I hope that this board recognizes that this man, because he's coming in there saying he's sorry now, we don't recognize. I'm like Miss Jackson. I didn't see any pain in his eyes for what my nephew went through or what my family went through. My mother died of a broken heart because she could never see the only daughter that she had. My sister was in school. She had went back to school to graduate at Grambling. He snatched that life out of her. And now he wants the board to forgive him for it and for us to move on by it. But I cannot do that. I cannot do that. And my brother would like to say something if y'all would allow him to.
Yes, if he can be brief. Thank you. Go
Yes,
ahead, sir.
I'll be brief. My nephew still wears the scar where he hit him on his eye with the clawed hammer. My nephew has suffered for years for the loss of his mother. My mother went to her grave grieving over my sister. So did my father and my brother. Now, he said the drugs and alcohol was his influence. I was with Danny all day the day that he killed my sister. I was with him all day. He hadn't consumed any alcohol at all. He was with me all day. I dropped him off at my sister's house. Shortly after I dropped him off, he murdered her when she showed up at home. So all that drug and alcohol influenced him. That's not the case. He was just upset, a jealous man, and he was evil. And he snatched the life out of my sister for no reason, none whatsoever, for him to commit a violent act as he did. And then to turn around and hit my nephew. My nephew said he laid on the ground and pretended like he was dead so he wouldn't hit him again. Watched him put his mom in the trunk. Wouldn't tell us where she was. Took her off and dumped in the woods like a bag of trash. Left her there for days before we recovered my sister's body. His family never reached out to us with no remorse. He said they have condolences for us. They never reached out to us. Danny was locked up in the county in Arcady Parish jail. Danny called me on the phone, a collect call he personally made to the house. He said another guy's name so we would accept the collect phone call. I accepted the call myself. He told me on the phone, guess what your sister was doing while I was beating her? She was screaming your name. He called my mama. He told my mama what he did to my sister. He tried to torture our family after he committed this violent act. He want forgiveness. He's just manipulating the system. He pled. We wanted the judge to try to give him the death penalty. They said they never tried a death penalty case. So he went ahead on and pleaded for life, knowing that someday he could manipulate the system to get himself back a free man. And I ask that y'all please don't return this man back to the street so he can do the same thing to somebody else's family. He was in jail before he got out this time and did this. He'll do it again. He'll come right back to prison if y'all let him out. So I'm asking
Thank you,
y'all,
sir.
please. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, we'll hear from the DA's office now. Ms. Jump?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Tammy Jump, and I'm the first assistant district attorney for the 2nd Judicial District, which includes Bienville Parish. I've been the felony prosecutor here in Bienville Parish for 21 years. I was in law school when this murder happened, but I have had a chance to review the file. And I can say that in my 21 years as a prosecutor, I've thankfully not had to prosecute a murder that was this brutal. In reviewing the file, I read a statement from a friend of Felicia's that stated that Felicia came to her house the night of the murder and told her that she was scared of Mr. BROUSSARD. He had told Felicia that if he could not have her, no one would. And he meant that because shortly after that, he beat her to death with a hammer so that no one else could have her. And he did this in front of her child, who he also hit with the hammer when he just tried to help his mama. Then he put her body in a trunk, he fled, and he later dumped her in a neighboring parish. I also read the autopsy report. She had over 10 wounds on her head, all delivered with that hammer, and she had defensive wounds on her hands. She tried her best to protect herself, but it wasn't enough. And in today's world, we put a huge emphasis on preventing domestic violence, and we also talk about the signs of it. We train law enforcement, the public, and even victims to recognize those signs. And we have a whole month dedicated to domestic violence awareness. Felicia didn't know it when she was talking to her friend that night, but she would become one of our Bienville Parish victims that we light a candle for every year. We say her name every year, and we pledge to not only remember her, but also strive as prosecutors and law enforcement to keep a crime like this from happening again. The district attorney's office strongly opposes Mr. BROUSSARD's release. Thank you.
Thank you. We always appreciate your input. All right, Mr. BROUSSARD, is there a statement you'd like to make to wrap it up for us and address your remarks to us, the board members?
Yes, first, I would like to say, I would like to thank the board for just giving me an opportunity to be present today. It was very painful hearing the accounts although, you know, a lot of it wasn't accurate, I still think, once again, my deepest apology goes out to the family. I know that there's nothing I can ever say or do that will rewrite the wrong that I've committed. I just humbly ask the board that, you know, they can find mercy and find their heart to give me a chance to get parole. There's just no words I can say, you know, just thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, is board panel prepared to vote?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Broussard, your case was mine, so I'll be voting first. You know, when you appeared, I guess it was earlier this year before the pardon board, I voted favorably for you, and my vote was at that time to allow you to be parole eligible after serving 25 years. But you were denied that day because you only got 2 favorable votes, I believe. But here we are today because of a new legislative act made you eligible for parole. You know, I sit here today. I was actually kind of surprised to learn that you were in the Bible college. I was pleased to see that, though. But you've heard a lot of pain from both sides. I mean, your family and the Hampton family are still suffering greatly. I believe that you have some more work to do. You know, I know that you had a hard time expressing yourself here today. I recognize that, but I think you did a pretty good job. There was some lack of obvious remorse, but I understand you have difficulty expressing yourself. My vote's going to be to deny your parole, but I would like to see you finish your education. And I would hopefully be able to consider you when you reapply. Good luck.
Thank you, Ms. Vanessa.
Ms. Jackson.
Mr. Broussard, I do take note of the things that you've accomplished for the last 25 years. I don't discount those things. But when I look at just the devastation that this crime has caused, I don't feel like the time that you served is sufficient. Also, I really, as I told you, struggle with seeing you as really understanding the magnitude of what you did and how it's just destroyed that young man, that little boy. It's destroyed him. And, you know, part of me says, you know, if you're really genuinely sorry, wouldn't you be aware of how much pain it would cause for that family to know that you were walking out of prison? I mean, you know, that's just another stab in their heart. I'm not saying that there's never going to be a point in time in the future where it might be suitable to let you parole, but I don't think it's now. I think you really do have to go through this process where you have to really listen to the pain that you've caused and not make it about you and how you're going to use that pain. And so today my vote is to deny because of strong victim opposition and because I don't feel that you've served sufficient time in light of the severity of the crime. But keep working, keep serving, keep being positive influence, especially for the young man in your family. But today my vote is no.
Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Broussard.
Good doing, Mr. Roche.
Good. Mr. Broussard, all the reasons why that was mentioned by my two colleagues, I echo. But the really thing that got me today was that you were not truthful. And you have to admit exactly what you did to start your rehabilitation. That same fact was raised, that Ms. Jackson raised, about when you open a trunk, the victim was still alive. And you finished her off. That same fact was brought up at your pardon hearing by myself. And of course, at the time, you denied it. For some strange reason, you have a fair institutional record. So you've not done well, incarceration. 90% of all people that appear before this board have a good institutional record. And when a staff member marks fair or poor, there is a reason. Because you're not conforming or following the guidelines of that institution. You were on supervision when you committed this crime. You just got out of jail in Natchitoches. And this lady felt compassionate enough to give you a place to stay. And you murdered her. It wasn't a gun that slipped and went off. It wasn't a knife that slipped out your hand. You raised a hammer and premeditatedly struck her multiple times. Little Gregory is not little Gregory anymore, but he still is physically, mentally, and emotionally affected by this crime. As Ms. Jackson said, sometimes there's not enough time of incarceration to make up for such a heinous offense. You need to sit down, reflect on what you did, and make a resolution that you're going to empathize and you're going to have compassion for that family. Because everything is about you now. I deny for all the reasons as mentioned. And I'm going to close with this. You're not ready to be released. You have some work to do. Madam Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Roche. All right, Mr. Broussard. Today, your parole's been denied. I would encourage you to heed Ms. Jackson's suggestion and keep working and keep serving and apply when you can. Good luck to you, sir. Thanks, everybody, for your participation this afternoon. Warden Falgu, that concludes our business at your facility. It's 3:09 and we will adjourn. Thank you so much for accommodating.
And what did I say? How different is Miss Bonnie Jackson? How different is this board? No way, Roche, the way that he describes little Danny, it's just, there's something so unique about the old Louisiana parole board that I know I took for granted. Maybe you did as well. And they just outshine every other board, all the states that we covered. And maybe it's because Ms. Bonnie Jackson was a judge and a defense attorney for so many years. But the way that she brought it out, that she brought up the lack of remorse, and it's because if you can go and take yourself and put yourself back into the scene of the crime and you think about the acts and how horrific, how nightmarish they are. Now, I can go on and on and on, but we've been here a long time and we have another hearing. We have to jump ahead to the present day 2025. Do you think he's going to take advice of the prior board? Do you think that he is going to admit to the crimes that he actually committed? or is he going to remain in that mode? Let's find out.
So first off, Mr. Broussard, tell me, what did you do to get yourself put into this situation? And tell me, why do you think we should consider letting you out today?
Yes, sir. I would like to first thank the parole board for giving me the opportunity to publicly apologize to the Hampton and the McPeters family. It's not a day go by that I don't feel the shame and the remorse committing the crime of murder against Felicia. And I know I've caused a lot of pain and suffering to Felicia's family, and continuously caused them pain and suffering, even with this hearing. And for that, I'm so sorry. I'll be forever sorry. On the date, the evening of February 20th, 1997, I found out that my living girlfriend Felicia was with another man, and I was at home waiting for her to return so I could confront her. And as the time went by, and the longer I waited for her to get back, it seemed like to fuel my anger and the betrayal I felt, combined with the alcohol and the drugs that I consumed earlier that day. Now, alcohol and the drugs doesn't justify my action. I want that to be known. So when Felicia finally arrived, I ran outside to confront her, and I ran to the car and the door was locked. She wouldn't get out. And after I asked her several times to get out, I ran to the porch. There was a toolbox sitting on the porch, and I opened it, and there was a hammer, and I grabbed it, and I ran back to the car, asking her to get out. And when she wouldn't, I buzzed the glass with the hammer. I swung it and buzzed the glass, and I grabbed her, and I continued swinging, and I hit her in the head with the hammer. And then Gregory ran out, and I wound up hitting him. I hit him with the hammer. And then I grabbed Gregory and I walked him back to the house and told him to go. When I realized what I did, I walked him back to the house and told Gregory, go to your room. And when he did, I ran back to Felicia, grabbed her, I put her in the car, and I drove off. Now, I know I should have taken her to the hospital, but I didn't. I panicked, and my emotions was all over the place. And before I knew it, I was in the town next to the one we was living. And I wound up parked in a park in that town. And I stayed in that park, and eventually I took Felicia out the car. I left her in the park with the car, and I roamed around until I turned myself in.
Okay. All right. All right, and like I said, Mr. Tillis will ask you more questions directly involving the case when it's his turn to interview you. So first, we're going to hear from Mr. Kerry Myers from the Parole Project.
Yes, good morning. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We're here to let the board know we've accepted Mr. Broussard as a client. Mr. Broussard has served right at 30 years on his sentence. He is a minimum A trustee. He's maintained that status since 2012. He's earned his GED. He's earned 465 days of CTRP credits. He's done extensive programming. He hasn't had a disciplinary infraction in 10 years. Since his last hearing, he's continued to do the things that he knows he needs to do for his own personal development. He didn't spiral. He's taken extensive programming since his last hearing, continues to be involved in AANA. We believe that Mr. Broussard has a high potential for success, and that is why we're here today. We also know that he has a long-term residence plan. He has Beyond Parole Project. He has significant support systems, and that's critically important. While he has been incarcerated for 30 years, Parole Project help him through this transition through our program. He'll have evaluations from our social workers and follow any recommendations. He'll have guidance in programming and technology and consumer skills, social skills, and the things that he literally needs to readjust after 30 years in prison. We believe Mr. Broussard is an excellent candidate, so we just ask this board to consider his outstanding record and grant his parole today.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Myers. Okay, Mr. Darrell Walters, a friend.
Yes, yes, sir. Thanks for this opportunity to speak briefly on behalf of my friend, Danny Broussard. He and I have been friends for over 15 years. I actually was released from here in Angola in November of 2022. So I had a chance to actually walk with Mr. Broussard. I'm very, very familiar with his spiritual journey and his overall transformation. With Danny, some years ago before I left, he and I talked. And as I heard today, as we all heard, it's really difficult, of course, for him to speak about his crime and about the past. And I can remember encouraging him that he has to name what he's done. He has to expose it to the light. He has to be accountable for his actions, no matter how bad it seemed, how harmful it is to do so. I had to do it. It's part of the healing process. And so Danny embraced that, and he began to recount that event to me and to himself, and take the necessary steps in order for healing and repair. And Danny has done a great job with that. Of course, he has undergone programming that was necessary for that process. He's expressed a lot of remorse, and though he understands that he can never change what happened in the past, but he can effect a better future for himself. And so I'm just, asking the board to please give Danny this opportunity to be better and to do better. One other thing I would like to share with the board is as a testament to Danny's unselfish character. He came to me when I was here and he asked to be a reentry mentor in the reentry program here. And so when I appealed to those in charge, we discovered that there were no openings at the time. And so Danny wasn't discouraged by that. He told me that he really wanted to help the young guys who had been sentenced here to our program. And so Danny asked to volunteer to be an orderly, to actually clean up after the guys in the program, just to have an opportunity to speak to the young guys and to use his life as an example for them. And Danny is still doing that until this day. So he's just volunteering his services. So he is engaged in community service. And I can honestly say that I've seen so much development, so much growth in his life, spiritually, emotionally, otherwise. And I know that he is highly remorseful for what he has done. And I am confident that if he were to be granted an opportunity for parole, that he would do well. Recently, I helped to found a church in Baton Rouge, and Danny would definitely be welcome to attend. And I will continue to be a spiritual advisor, a mentor, a guide for Danny, and continue in our friendship to grow together with him. So thank you so much for this opportunity to speak.
All right, Mr. Walters, thank you for speaking. And Mr. Harold Francis, brother-in-law?
Yes, sir. Good morning, board members. My name is Harold Francis. Danny Broussard is my brother-in-law. I've been knowing him for over 35 years. He's come from a loving family who welcomed me into their family. Being in the family, I learned that Danny was a DJ. Music was his passion. Now, being in that life, there's drugs and alcohol. He got caught up in that. Abusing drugs was his downfall. Now I can understand the family's hurt because it happened to me and my family. My sister was murdered. I was angry. I wanted revenge. But visiting Danny over the years, talking with him, helped me realize that revenge is not ours. It's for Jehovah our God. So him being here helped me learn forgiveness. Coming here over the years, I've seen him accomplish a lot. He had educated himself on the crime he committed. He came to understanding that he was completely wrong and accepted it. I've seen the change in him, within him. He accomplished a lot. One thing I love about Danny that he accomplished was that he found Jehovah God and asked for forgiveness. Upon getting out, he will reside with me and my wife, his sister, along with my grandson at our home. We will help him find work, help him do what's necessary for him to succeed at life. We trust and we feel that we can help him become a productive citizen. In conclusion, members of the board, from the BROUSSARD family and myself, we are asking for mercy on your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Appreciate you being here. Okay, Ms. Hogan, would you like to give us your presentation, please, ma'am?
Sure. Thank you for letting me speak. I know that this is a very difficult case and a very serious crime. And I know that at Mr. Broussard's last hearing in 2021, there was opposition, very vocal opposition to his release. The vision of this board, as enumerated on the website, is that this board believes in second chances that are guided by fairness, public safety, and the voices of victims. So while there is opposition to Mr. Broussard's release, there are also other components that are critical for evaluating whether he presents as a good risk to for release. Mr. Broussard was not sentenced to life without parole. He was not sentenced to death in prison. He was given a term of years. He pled guilty. He admitted what he had done. He pled guilty and he was given a 70-year sentence, which came to include parole eligibility. But Mr. Broussard's transformation began long before he was parole eligible pursuant to Act 122. If you look in the packet that I submitted, Mr. Broussard was, from the moment that he arrived, he was attending Catholic study sessions. He has been active for 2 decades in drug and alcohol abuse awareness courses and AA. He's currently in his 4th or 5th substance abuse program of Celebrate Recovery. He knew that he needed to come to prison, and he knew that there were things that he needed to address, and that the reform began when he didn't have any hope of release. And as Mr. Kerry Myers spoke and stated, after Mr. Broussard was denied parole in December of 2021, although he was denied by all members of the board, they noted the exceptional things that Mr. Broussard had done in prison. And even Ms. Jackson said, I'm not saying that you'll never get out of prison, but it's not today. And they all, Ms. Renatza and everyone, encouraged him to keep working. And since his last hearing, he's completed about 12 additional programs. He has 3 jobs. He's a full-time, he's in his final semester of the Bible College. He is orderly at the A building. He's a volunteer with the Reentry Club. He's taken victims awareness, accountability letter training, Malachi Dads, trauma healing. There's so many programs that he's completed just in the last few years. He was not discouraged, and he continued in his path. And he has a strong community support that would welcome him to his community, to their back home, if he is granted a second chance. So for these reasons, we would ask the board to evaluate everything about Mr. Broussard's character, what he's done with himself for the last 30 years, 29 years, and to grant his request for parole.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Hogan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, now we're going to get to the victims of the opposition. Mr. Felix Hampton.
What about now?
No, you're good now. Okay, Mr. Hampton, tell us what you want us to know.
What I want to say, board, first of all, I appreciate you guys giving the family an opportunity to speak. I've sit here and listened as quietly as I could to Danny Broussard's explanation of what happened that particular evening. And that is not what my nephew, who was 8 years old at that time, told me and my family. He never took him in the house and told him to go to his room, because my 8-year-old nephew was knocked out laying in the yard with a big hole in his head. He finally came to and staggered down to the neighbor's house. and told them what happened. So that was completely what I just heard Danny Broussard say a few minutes ago. But neither, put it like this, I talked to my nephew about 2 weeks ago. He could not participate in this program. He said he did not want to see Danny Broussard. Because Danny Broussard, according to my nephew and what he told me 2 weeks ago, he said that what occurred with him losing his mother at the age of 8 years old. My mother took him in, but his biological father, he lived in Arkansas, eventually got custody of him. And at the age of 8 years old, his biological father was an abusive guy. That's why him and my sister got divorced in the first place. We couldn't keep him from getting because he was his biological father. He wouldn't get him no therapy, and this kid just watched this brutal man here kill his mother. And he said something about my sister, saying that he went to after he went to the house and took Gregory to the house. My nephew told me, and we seen the evidence. I had to go and identify her body. She had claw marks and chunks of skin out of both arms trying to cover up her head, besides a lick to her head. He threw her in the trunk of the car and drove her over to Webster Parish, threw her body out in a ditch like it was a piece of trash, and left my 8-year-old nephew laying on the ground with a hole in his head, bleeding, like, and almost bled to death. I had to leave my job. I'm on now. I've been here 37 years. Leave my job, working shift work at night, graveyard, and drive to LSU Shreveport, flying to get over there because there was no one there with my nephew to take care of him. And this man gonna sit here. It's funny to me how when people get locked up, they get caught and get locked up, they find God and they find all kind of other things to help them to try to get out of jail as quick as possible. But he was a criminal before this even happened. This when his first dealing with the law. So no one can tell me that because he's been in there 30 years or however long he's been in there, that he's a stand-up citizen. Because my sister will never be able to walk out that graveyard and that cemetery that he put her in. Okay. And you want him to walk out of, he wants to walk out of here as if everything is cool because he spent a little time in jail. But he should get the whole 70 years that he got. Because my family is irreparably hurt. We will never get my sister back. My nephew went, it was 10 years before we could even see him. His father was so brutal. He got him at 8. It was 18 years when he turned 18, his graduation, before the family here was able to even go and see him. His father wouldn't let us even see him. He suffered to no end because of this man and what he done. And ain't nobody gonna tell me that, okay, that our pain and our hurt and all we went through in that little 30 years of him eating 3 square meals a day, a place to lay his head, that my tax dollar paid for. I've been working for a long time and I ain't never committed a crime. That ain't the way I live. So Mr. Myers, whoever he is, saying that, you know, he fit the mold. I don't care about none of what he fits. Because he had support before he did this. His family knew him, knew exactly what he was about. I see a bunch of people in there standing up, talking for him. But where y'all was when he was up here killing my sister?
Okay, you got to talk to us, Mr. Hampton, and would you please try to wrap it up for us, sir?
I will. But my point is that we don't never want to see him get out. Yes, you know, sir. I mean, that's a decision that you guys will make. But I only ask one thing. Y'all factor in what I just said. As far as my nephew, an 8-year-old child that he attempted to murder, left him laying in the yard to bleed out, thought he was dead. And if it had not been for my nephew, we would not have known what happened. But because he came to, and staggered down the street. He was not inside of the house, as Mr. Broussard alleges. Because I just talked to my nephew 2 weeks ago and asked him about this very hearing. Did he want to participate? He told me, Uncle, I can't see that man. So I still have nightmares about what he did to me and my mother, what he took from me, not being able to be raised by his mother. So you guys, it's up to y'all, but I'm just telling you, this man should never hit the ground again because he took too much. If it was some other kind of crime, well, my sister didn't die, okay, that's one thing. But when you take a life, the Bible says in the 10th commandment, thou shalt not kill. This man, and then he want to talk about the Bible now. But he did the very thing that the Bible says not to do. So no, I don't want to ever see him get his foot out from behind that cell bar. That's all I got to say.
All
I
right.
appreciate you guys hearing me out.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. We appreciate you being on here. Okay, now we have Miss Tammy Jump. You don't look like Tammy Jump to me.
Me.
All right, Miss Jump.
Hey everyone, my name is Tammy Jump. I'm the first assistant district attorney for the 2nd JDC, which includes Bienville Parish. I've been the felony prosecutor here in Bienville for 25 years, and I actually testified at the last parole hearing, and I explained then that I was actually in law school when this murder happened, but I reviewed the file, and in reviewing the file, the one thing I took away from it was how violent and how senseless it was. I thankfully have not had to go to a scene like this since I've been working here. And I'm not going to get into the facts because both Mr. Broussard and Mr. Hampton have kind of talked about the facts, but I have to speak for Felicia and her son. And as Mr. Hampton said, her son is still suffering the consequences from this, as are the rest of her family. I always tell my victims, it doesn't matter what you do. You don't deserve to be abused and certainly don't deserve to be killed. And Mr. Broussard does seem to have a little better attitude this time than he did in 2021 from the notes that I took from that hearing. But there still have to be consequences for actions. And it's kind of odd that we're having this hearing in October, which is the month that we set aside to raise awareness for domestic violence. And we train law enforcement and victims and the public to look for the signs. And Felicia is now one of those people that we light a candle for at our candlelight vigil every year. And we strive to keep this kind of crime from happening again. From what I can tell from the record, again, y'all have already said this, he was to receive a 70-year sentence. He's only served about 28, 29 of those years. We don't feel like at this point that's enough. So the district attorney's office would strongly oppose him being paroled at this time. And I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to speak.
Okay, Ms. Jump, thank you for appearing today. Okay, your case has been assigned to Mr. Broussard. To Mr. Tillis.
Check the warden.
Warden, do you have any comments on Mr. Broussard?
I have something to say.
Okay.
Even though everybody else has went through everything that probably, that I have the same thing that they do, but just to add on to that, Mr. Broussard is a very hard worker here. He's very respectable. He actually sets up this parole board room for us when we get ready to have it. He's a good offender. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Warden. Okay, now the case has been assigned to Mr. Tillis. Mr. Tillis, would you lead us in the question?
Good morning, Mr. Broussard. How are you?
Doing all right, sir.
I listened to your statement and I read through your file and you elaborated a lot on what the file said. Did you honestly turn yourself in?
Yes, I did, yes, I did, sir. I didn't resist when the cop came. I threw my hands up and I didn't deny who I was, because I remember him asking me who I was. I told him who I was, and I went up, got arrested.
So you didn't take yourself down to the office? You mean they came?
I
And
didn't
you up?
go. Yes, sir, that is correct.
Yeah, I thought you meant you took yourself down to be arrested. I see you've been taking a lot of classes and a lot of courses since you've been incarcerated. Well, you've been there, what, 27 years, 28?
28, almost 29, sir.
Almost 29. Okay, I have no more questions.
Okay, I just have a couple. You know, you had some, looks like you had some problems when you were on supervision before. What can you tell me about that? Well, how can I be assured we won't have these same problems?
Well, Mr. Freeman, prior to me picking up this charge, I've had serious drug addiction. I was a drug addict, and the crimes that I committed was to support my habit. And the times that I stayed in jail was, the first sentence I think was 9 months, and the second was 18 months. And I was walking in denial. Every the time I got in, I thought, I didn't have no programming at the parish jail. I did the 9 months, and I did 18 months at the detention center where there was no program in place like they have here in Angola to address my drug addictions. So, and at that time, I normalized my addiction and my destructive behavior. So when I walked out, I easily relapsed. But now, I spent 28 and a half, 29 years in here. I had a lot of time to educate myself with the programs that this place has in place, combined with my faith. And I understand through the victim awareness and the various drug addiction classes I took.
About victim awareness, what did you get out of that? That was gonna be my next question.
Well, victim awareness was one of the class that stands out to me the most, because it gave me a deeper understanding of the pain I've caused Felicia's family. It allowed me to put my foot in the shoe, or myself, excuse me, in the shoes of what her family feels. And I understand, the pain I've caused. I understand how the responsibility and accountability through awareness.
I have no further questions, Ms. Stapleton.
Okay, it just came to mind now, victim awareness. So you've heard about the grief of the child. What
Yes,
would you
ma'am.
describe to me as what you think that child's thinking all these years?
I can imagine the trauma that I caused him. I can imagine him. It's every day I think about him, me depriving him from growing up without his mother, and the pain that comes from that.
Let me ask you this. At first when you gave your statement, you said you used a piece of wood on Felicia. And then you just finished saying, and you might have corrected this later also on many occasions, but you did say that you passed by a toolbox and you saw the hammer. And so that's different from the interview statement where you said you used wood. And then it was at the hospital that the child's injury, the hospital said that it was consistent with a claw hammer used on the child's head. And then when you did that, even the statement that you just now said that you told him to go inside the house, you left the child that you hit in the head with a claw hammer really to die.
Well, at the time when I gave my initial statement 28 and a half years ago, I was so emotionally unraveled. I wasn't a good person back then, and I all I know is I admitted to what I'd done, and what the record reflects now is correct. As years went by and I came to grips of what I'd done, I realized, that what it was, but at the time, Ms. Stapleton, I was, my initial statement, I was just so emotionally and I was messed up. I was out of my mind at the time.
Okay, and then you do have an extensive criminal history of violence that is present in numerous states, not just the state of Louisiana. So it passes over a period of time, these crimes of violence concerning you. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Broussard, were you going to say something, attorney?
I was going to mention, I'm not sure whether my understanding of Mr. Broussard's record is that he does have a lot of other arrests, but I don't know of any other crimes of violence that he was arrested for. So I don't know, but I'm not trying to correct the board.
Okay. Mr. Broussard, did you walk the child back into the room as you first said, or the child was knocked out, lying on the, you left him on the ground?
Mr. Tillers, I walked him back. I did, he wasn't knocked out on the ground. I walked him back to the door and I told him to go back in the house.
Okay.
When it first happened.
I read your statement. Why did you kill her? Why did you kill her?
Why? You know, I've asked myself this, man, over and over. It's not every day for the last 20 plus years. Why? And only thing I reached a boiling point. I made so many bad choices and so many poor decisions. I was under the influence, even though that doesn't excuse my behavior. I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol that throughout that day I was using. And the pain, I guess, of me realizing that I was finna lose the best thing that have happened to me, because Felicia was the best thing that happened to me. She was a good person. I loved her. And the idea of her being with another man, the pain of knowing that, combined with all the letdowns and the disappointments in the past, it just came to a head that night.
Yeah, you stated that someone told you she was with another man. Who was that person?
Gregory did, sir.
Gregory? That's the child?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. The child told you that. All right. I have no more questions.
Okay, panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Tillis, you will vote first.
Mr. Broussard, I read through it and you really, I believe you are remorseful and I believe you've changed your life. I really do. And I hope you continue to do the better things to better yourself. But at this time, I just don't feel you've served enough time for the crime that you've done. And I'm sorry to say my vote's going to be to deny.
I do want to say, this is what I read, that he has a rather lengthy criminal history that consists of drug charges, robbery, theft, and arson. These crimes were committed in Florida, Louisiana, South Carolina, and Texas. So perhaps they don't be violent, just criminal history. So I did want to correct myself there. So based upon his extensive criminal history, and I don't believe he has served enough time, and the brutal premeditated nature of the crime against two individuals, I'm going to vote to deny.
Okay, as you can see, you already have 2 votes to deny. I just want to tell you, Mr. Broussard, that you're doing a terrific job there. And I really do think that the time is the factor here. You know, it's not even half yet. When you get, when we get closer, if you keep doing what you're doing, and I know this is very disappointing, but I just want you to keep your head up. It's not the end of time, but today you have been denied. My vote is also to deny. So good luck to you, sir. We're signing off at Louisiana State at 11:54. Thank y'all for hosting us today, Rochelle.
Isn't it remarkable? Isn't it remarkable that even with all this time and being called out in his previous hearings for not being honest, he still to this day could not be honest. And that's what I love about the ability to go the flashback in the past to see the hearings. It teaches us more than any PhD. I think I know, you know me and my PhDs, but it just it brings a different context that you can't get in the school books, that you can't get reading up case law. It's the idea that there are those that no matter what, they still cannot help themselves but to lie. I'm glad Miss Stapleton called it out. She's a classic too. I do really appreciate watching her. And it's there's the supporters. You go to the supporters and it's always the rainbows and butterflies. And what was it? Did I hear correctly? Let me check my notes. His support said that he's going to move in with him and live with their grandson. How old is their grandson? I mean, it sounds too similar to the case that led up to this brutal murder. And not only that, but he's still trying to play it off by dragging her through the mud. I found out she was with another man, and that's why I did it. She was running away from you. She was terrified of you. And then you hear from the victim's relatives and you see them shaking their head saying, no, everything he's saying is a lie. Everything he's saying is a lie. And you can feel their emotion. And only to think that that the system, remember, he had to ask for a commutation of his sentence. Then like 6-7 months later, he gets the parole hearing because of Act 122, which is why the Louisiana Parole Project was now there. Before, Jane Hogan was there as a private attorney, not with the parole. Now she's there as with the Parole Project. And it's like they want to spin it, but there's nothing you cannot replace. You can't teach empathy. And people without empathy, they just have a problem. They can't fake it. And then they can't be honest. If you were wondering what his support, the other guy who I shared a clip of his hearing, the reason that where he said, "Oh, I got out of Angola," it's my understanding from Sir Richard's spreadsheet, because I just see here in the notes, because he had his commutation hearing before Louisiana was broadcasting it, and then he got granted by the governor, and then he had his parole hearing, and the parole, it was very superficial because of that. They didn't ask questions. But in Sir Richard's notes, it seems to show that that guy killed his girlfriend's at the time 14-year-old sister. But I don't have any other information on that. That's just what I see in the spreadsheet. So also a great guy. Although to his credit, I got to give it to him, and that's why I put the links in there and the information. He has been doing great out of prison. He's been, I think, one of the few that has excelled. But still, look, it was his buddy in Angola, so he's showing up to support him. There's no other information, right? There's no appeals or anything. It is amazing. It's crazy to think. I mean, maybe, they gave him a plea deal of manslaughter, and then they let him get away with the story that it was a crime of passion. He found that, and maybe he stuck with that in his mind for so long. But the idea that the DA in Louisiana, even at the time, gave him just a 60-year sentence. But I guess at the time, that feels like life. You don't think that laws are going to change that's going to make him all of a sudden parole eligible, because manslaughter falls under Act 122. Had it been, I don't know, I think we still see murder for Act 122. But what do you think? If you see just, one hearing without the other, you might think, okay, he's been locked up so long. But you can't get over the fact of how brutal it is. A 7-year-old coming to defend his mother, finding out that mom was alive in the trunk, finding out that he called the victim's mother to manipulate her. This is it keeps unraveling. Thank goodness for the Miss Jackson hearing, Mr. No Way Roche, right? They pull it out, they call it out, they say it how it is, and the victims and the DA. I go, we haven't seen her ever, right? Here she is at 2 hearings. I would like to see her in more hearings, but good for her for sticking it through, bringing up the 1 month, the month of Awareness Month, and the irony of that. Was it 3 felony convictions, 4 arrests in 3 different states, released in 95, revoked in 96, out on good time, only to do it a month later to murder her. And it's like that light on crime to begin with. It is amazing that he didn't get a longer, that they didn't like how he didn't get multiple life sentences, murder and attempted murder, the first degree, like. But he's gonna get to keep coming back, and eventually he probably will find a parole board. The governor. It's all politics, and you get before this governor, they had left wing governors in Louisiana for the past 8 years, and it was a lighter on, even with Ms. Bonnie Jackson, Mr. Noe Roche. They had a different approach. They in some cases could be a little more lenient, although this board pretty much denies everybody. What is he, 60 years old today? He's been locked up a long time. In other states, he would have gotten released, that's for sure. And maybe they'll let him out, when he's like 70 or something. I don't know. It comes in waves if they get a new governor, a new parole board, different approach. But we have seen Louisiana, they will hold inmates in their quadriplegic inmates with feeding tubes, and they will deny their parole. We've seen it. So you never know. Anyways, not to get all morbid, but if you want to see more hearings like this where we connect the dots, go to the Return of playlist. It's not easy to do these long hearings. It's a full day affair for me. Sometimes it's multiple days. So if you want to see it, let me know, because it's much easier to be like the other YouTube channels. I'll just copy paste stuff and throw it in there and go. I'll get my views, right? This of course takes it's not that. But if you don't watch it, then so let me know.
I don't see any shame, any remorse, or any horror coming from you. And then he had to watch you put his mama in the trunk of a car, and he never saw her again alive. And yet you sit here and you make everything about you.
It's not about me, Ms. Jackson.
I understand that it's not about you, but I don't think you do.
You were on supervision when you committed this crime. You just got out of jail in Natchitoches. And this lady felt compassionate enough to give you a place to stay. And you murdered her. It wasn't a gun that slipped and went off. It wasn't a knife that slipped out your hand. You raised a hammer and premeditatedly struck her multiple times. Lil Gregory is not Lil Gregory anymore, but he still is physically, mentally, and emotionally affected by this crime. As Ms. Jackson said, sometimes there's not enough time of incarceration to make up for such a heinous offense.